You are listening to Offensive Lines with Marlon and Boyd. Small stakes NFL gambling for the average fan.
Welcome to Offensive Lines. I'm Marlon.
I'm a loser.
Oh, my God.
Well, I said last week I'm a winner, so I have to come
out
this
okay.
week.
You got to be consistent.
I'm a loser.
This was our worst week in over 2 years.
Yeah, it was brutal.
An absolute disaster on every level.
See, but it goes back to what you said last week. What we were talking about last week about not reading too much into week one. You even said it before we took Tampa Bay.
I know. Try as I might, I can't shake the recency bias combined with what my preseason expectations are. Week 2 is just, I hate week 2.
Still no excuse.
No, absolutely no excuse. And I was trying to think of advice for listeners. I mean, it used to be when we were having bad periods, I'd just say just fade us.
Yeah.
But now we've gone 3-0 and 0-3. So what do you do with us?
and we're still turning a profit of $3.30 this year.
All right.
We're in the black. That's all that matters.
Oh, it does matter. I mean, this isn't easy, but shall we get right to the games? We'll be doing the injuries as we encounter them in the games. How does that sound?
That sounds good.
Okay. Well, we started off well on Thursday night, though that certainly wasn't what I expected. We both were on the Jets, and they prevailed 37-31.
Well, Tyrod Taylor had the game you'd expect him to have, doing the things he did last year, getting out of the pocket, hitting guys deep downfield that got behind coverage because the play took so long to develop. Revis looked mortal again.
Again, yeah. I said last week that I wasn't quite ready to dump, my expectations of him, but I think they've got to change the system and what they're asking him to do. They're asking him to do what he did when he was 27.
But I'll give him a pass on Goodwin, who was a track star.
Yeah.
There's not many corners in the league who are going to run with him, but Revis had no idea that he was a former track star.
Yeah, that doesn't fit with the preparation king that he always presented himself as,
Or even the coaching staff to let him know. Yeah. To let the DBs know, okay, this guy, you might want to give him a little extra room. Because he just blew past. And it wasn't like Revis still pretty quick.
Yeah.
Because he was only a couple of yards, but he almost got the diving tackle on him. So he wasn't that far behind him. He wasn't going to catch him running, but he almost got him on the dive.
But he played him pretty close there and didn't seem that interested in turning around or backpedaling or getting with him early. And that's where the coaching comes in, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's something you should be told before the game.
Yeah. But I think they're going to have to start cheating a safety over to Revis a bit for the first time in his career. I don't think he's useless, by the way.
No.
I think he's useless in his current role of shutting down one side of the field like he used to. I don't think he can do that anymore.
So is he big enough to play safety next year?
I don't think he's there yet either. I think you change the scheme a bit to mask some of his deficiencies.
Oh, excuse me. Jesus Christ.
All right, we need a sneeze button on your mic.
I didn't have time. I should have time. When you sneeze and your eyes start closing, I didn't have time. That's a first for the podcast.
Yeah.
The next I'll put my ass up.
Are you going to
go
pause the podcast to go take a dump again?
No, I'm gonna put my ass up and fart.
Okay.
Into the mic. We'll go down and then I'll piss in a bottle so you can all hear it, and we'll cover all bodily functions in one show.
Anyway, I'm glancing. This is the second highest scoring game of the week on a Thursday night between Buffalo and the Jets. The highest scoring at a quick glance was San Fran at Carolina.
Yeah.
So I'm glad I stayed away from the totals this week because I clearly know fuck nothing.
Yeah, it was the highest scoring Thursday night game in like 4 or 5 years, I think I saw. It was crazy.
Oh, I believe it, because I expect junk, especially from... I mean, the Jets have a bit on offense, but, I mean, Buffalo put up 7 the previous week. I was just shocked by the constant scoring.
Yeah, but you know how to get at the Jets, D. Get your quarterback out of the pocket.
You get him out of the pocket and have him throw over the top of the secondary.
Yeah.
Because anything past 15 or 20 yards downfield, those guys were behind the defenders constantly.
Yeah. Oh, well, we both got that one right. We should have bet that one.
Yeah, we don't bet Thursdays. Next game up, Baltimore at Cleveland. Baltimore was favored by 7. We both took Baltimore. Yeah, that didn't go so well either.
Yeah, we shouldn't have bet that one. We got that one right.
Yeah, well, there's going to be a lot of that statement if we're congratulating ourselves for our X's.
Well,
Cleveland got up 20-0, and then they went for the extra point on the third touchdown. It was blocked, returned for the 2 points, and Cleveland never scored again.
Well, did you see the what's his nut?
The taunting?
No, yeah, that was brutal.
Yeah, I know.
He was trying to flip the ball to the official. You could see it. When they slowed it down, the ball stuck to his fucking glove. As he tried to flip it, it kind of hung on his glove and then fell on the guy's head.
Yep. Yeah, that was like a brutal penalty.
Like, he already had his back to the guy. He's not flipping the ball at him. He's like, we got 20 seconds left. I got to get to the fucking huddle. Ugh.
Yeah, that's terrible injustice when the player is trying to do the right thing, which is flip the ball to the ref. That's what you want to do to look like a professional in that situation. Look like you're ready to go and help your team. Total injustice there.
Well, like, I would get it if the official wasn't standing half a yard from the player. Like, if he was running to get to mark the spot and, didn't... You know what I mean? Like, if he was, 3 yards away and he was trying to flip it to him?
Yeah.
I get it. He was standing right beside him. What do you think he was trying to do?
Intent matters. Like,
he wasn't even looking at the Baltimore guy. Not that I care one way or the other. It helps our Browns bet.
Yes, it does.
Of under 4.5 wins, but the game shouldn't be decided on that shit.
No.
And it bugs me. I didn't watch the snap. Well, it wasn't on TV and on local TV, so I wasn't flipping to it anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, and I
Seeing the
saw
highlights,
Red Zone, and now McCown's out. I did say he'd be an upgrade at quarterback till he, tore his non-throwing shoulder out. But Baltimore still isn't good. I'm still not buying that they're a relevant team.
2-0.
Yeah.
Got a 60% chance of making the playoffs right now.
All right.
That's the numbers over the years, 60% at 2-0. And then it's down to
0-2 is 12%.
Yeah, and that's like 40 or between 40 and 50% at 1-1.
Yeah, but once you get into that, it's only a 2-game sample, right? There's going to be massive variation in the middle.
Yeah, but it's still 0-2 is 12%. That's a pretty big number.
Yeah.
For all you 0-2 teams out there.
Yes. All right, the next game up. Cincy +3 at Pittsburgh. We both liked Cincy. This game was simultaneously not as bad as it seemed and not as good as it seemed. You know, Pittsburgh still controlled it all. But that fumble late, we were still in a nice position to cover there.
Yeah.
I don't know why Cincy has never successfully run against Pittsburgh in like 10 years.
I was flipping to that game in between the Titans. And all the emotion that everybody talked about going into that game, there was zero.
I think they were given a pretty
game.
hardcore... one, it was torrential rain, right? Everyone just wanted to get through the game.
No, but so I flipped over the one time, and Roethlisberger, I think, got hit out of bounds, or somebody did, and they fucking do the old helmet tap. Oh, yeah, nice hit. Good job. I'm like, okay.
Threats of fines?
Well, I have no... But there was none. Like, there was nothing. Like, it didn't seem, you know what Baltimore and Pittsburgh used to be?
Oh.
And they never had any games as violent as that playoff game last year with the Steelers, and there was zero.
Yeah, I think there were strong edicts about suspensions, fines. I mean, I know football players are well paid, but I still would not want to pay $50,000 just to make a point on television.
No, but I'm not saying anything dirty. There was zero emotion, though. Like, the sideline reporter even said, it's like fucking morgue on the sidelines for both teams. Like, just a dead atmosphere on the sidelines even. It's like, well, how does that happen?
So I have one thing about this. Oh, sorry. I
was just going to say maybe when Vontaze Burfict gets back.
Yeah. But
he might inject something into it.
Pittsburgh's in a really interesting situation here because they can run the wheels off D'Angelo Williams and know that they've got Bell coming back.
Yeah.
It's really intriguing that they're using the old man, who looked great, by the way, whenever I saw him run. He still scares the shit out of me. Oh, and he had a great year last year after Bell went down. But it's kind of interesting. I wonder if we'll see other teams think, all right, we'll run the balls off one running back for half the season.
And then plug the other guy in?
Yeah.
Yeah, but how many of running backs that good?
Well, that's true, but, I mean, I don't think anyone in Pittsburgh expected D'Angelo Williams when they picked him up to fill in. Well, no, but here's the thing, though. That anymore.
Here's the thing. We were talking before the podcast about DeMarco Murray, and he had that rest in Philly last year from his big 390-touch season in Dallas. Well, D'Angelo Williams never carried a full workload ever in his career in Carolina.
Nope.
So he's basically been used, he's a part-time back.
Yeah.
So he's only got half the touches of a normal running back his age, which could explain why he's still fresh. Because you look at Adrian Peterson before he got hurt, and he doesn't look the same.
No.
The explosion doesn't seem to be there in his runs.
Though I didn't see a single hole. I don't care who you were going to be. I didn't see a single hole on Sunday night.
It's Green Bay. Come on.
Oh, I know. There should be a hole. I'm putting it more on the O-line. Or whether Minnesota is telegraphing their plays so perfectly that they're just jamming the box, right? Which would not surprise me from a North Turner offense. But I know what you mean, but I also saw no holes there at all. And Cincy, I still think, has a very credible defense, too.
Yeah, they do.
But they just put the muscle to him in the rain, and he stepped up. It was a great game by him.
Yeah.
Okay, next up, we have Dallas plus 2.5 at Washington. Bravo, we got this one. They prevailed in a pretty exciting game.
Yeah, didn't see a snap of this one either. You were watching some of this on Red Zone, weren't you?
Yeah, I was. They showed a ton of this on Red Zone for obvious reasons. Like, they might as well call it Cowboys Light television. Because in the lack of anything else going on, it was on the Dallas game. So I felt like I watched this whole game. Prescott, I think, is for real.
Yeah, how'd Elliott look?
He looked okay if he can hang on to the ball. He fumbled twice, got one of them back. Well, he didn't get it back. I think it was Free who fell on it.
Okay.
But putting it on the ground twice like that, not good. But near the end of the game, the holes for the Dallas running backs, huge. This is what we were expecting all year. They hadn't seemed quite as dominant as we anticipated, but they started to get it together. And I think it's because Prescott looked cool, right? No one could just stack 8 in the box or 9 in the box.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Dez had over 100 yards.
Yep.
Receiving. I don't know who else did anything. I don't know what Witten did or any of that, but
Witten and Beasley both had really decent games too. So I like Prescott quite a bit. I think it's going to be interesting when Romo comes back.
well, yeah, he's thrown again already. So they're saying like 4 weeks maybe now?
Now, I know beating this Washington team, which, by the way, the Dallas's defense is still highly questionable. Washington had plenty of opportunities to win this game.
Oh, yeah, the pick in the end zone.
Holy crap.
Yeah, I saw that tonight. That was brutal.
Now, that said, this whole players are already starting to complain about Cousins. Something about that rings untrue to me, too. Teams don't usually turn on their quarterback.
No, somebody questioned. There was a quote from a player. This wasn't like a leak. There was a quote about his decision making. No, this is for real.
But it wasn't attributed to an actual player. It was unnamed player.
Still.
And by the way, that unnamed player, if this quote came out, was Garcon, who looked visibly pissed off at Cousins.
Well,
I'm not certain who Washington thinks should be, or who these players think the quarterback should be, if not Cousins. He's only on a 1-year deal. You know, what's your positive edge to ripping your quarterback, unless you're the coaching staff and you're trying to scapegoat somebody?
well, we were never really sold on Cousins.
No, and the one time when we finally crumbled on how much we hated Cousins, we were stupid. Like, that was one of our worst bets last year, was when we took them in the playoffs.
Yeah.
That was a terrible bet by us.
And now we know we can only bet on the Redskins when they play a team with a losing record, which Dallas had, but it was one game. So going forward, bet accordingly. Cousins has never beat a team with a winning record. His whole run last year to get him in the playoffs was teams with a non-winning record. So
yeah, and if you look at his stat line, it looked fine enough, but it doesn't really get across. He looked outmatched out there, and Dallas's defense is no world killer. Did enjoy that game, though. And it's a rare one we got right.
So what are we now, 2-2?
Yeah, we're 2-2, and that's as good as it gets.
Oh.
Next up, we bet this game. KC +3 at Houston. Well, 3 first-half turnovers. Pretty much sunk this early.
I'm still not sold on the Texans.
Neither am I. But KC, from what I could see, was getting zero pressure on Brock.
So do they miss Houston that much?
I'm starting to think that may be the case. And, I mean, Watt got a couple of sacks, maybe 3. I didn't see it. I want to go back and look at some replays, but I've heard they're really moving Clowney around in strange positions, and it's just disrupting everything.
Okay.
He didn't get sacks, but I read an article that was saying he was used very creatively and very effectively, which would make that defense scary. If he lives up to even 70% of his potential,
yeah,
that could be frightening.
Well, yeah, and if they don't just put him with his hands in the dirt on the edge.
Yeah.
If you put him beside Watt, then what do you do? Like, that's where it would get the most troublesome.
Yeah, this is something I really want to look at, some replays, and just see what Clowney did. Because I read the article and I thought, ooh, that's intriguing and a little frightening.
I just didn't think...
Did we bet Houston to win this division?
No.
Damn it. I know we talked about it. And for justifiable reasons, you know, it's Brock Osweiler. You know, I couldn't see pulling the trigger on it either. I just had this wish that maybe we did.
Well, who did they beat in week 1?
Chicago. And they didn't dominate Chicago.
Well, I'm not 19-12, both games at home. We'll see when they go out on the road.
That's a good point.
19,
yeah, I'm not
12.
ready to jump on them yet. I'm going to try to avoid overreactions when we make our picks tomorrow night. Yeah, that's the first of our failed bets of the week.
And that one was doable.
Yeah, it was doable, but that's one of the worst games I've seen Smith play. Like, his turnovers were bad. He never, at no point did it feel like KC was in control. Like, I didn't see one drive or even a string of plays where they looked effective.
Almost like that Patriots playoff game where they hung around but just never looked like they'd get anything going.
Yeah, that's a really good comparison. Like, there seemed to be no rhythm to it, and that could be because Houston did a great job, or it could be that... Well,
the
and
turnovers
where?
Probably throw you out of rhythm.
Where in the second half destroyed the Chargers? I know it's not the same team, but I believe he got a total of either 8 to 12 touches. Somewhere in that range.
Yeah, and it's not like they were in a shootout.
Yeah.
Or you have to abandon the running game or anything, or a screen pass.
This is fucking Andy Reid classic. Didn't week 2 last year, didn't he, like, give Jamal Charles, who was healthy at the time, like 5 touches?
Yeah, in the second half. Yeah.
So it's another Andy Reid special that we failed on. Next game up. Miami plus 6.5 at New England. Well, this would have been a terrible pick if Garoppolo hadn't gone down. As it is, we missed it by a half point.
Fuck. Here I thought I took the Patriots. I couldn't remember for sure.
No, we both took Miami because we did think to go from 8 or 9 point dogs to 6.5 point favorites against a Miami team that looked not great, but their defense looked good against Seattle. But I guess we didn't really know who Seattle was yet.
Well, we do now.
Yeah. But, I mean, after, was it 31 or 28 points when Garoppolo went down? And then Brissett.
No, 24.
24. You know, then they just gave the ball to Blunt, who's not a good running back, but if you just keep feeding him the ball, he will do all right for you.
Yeah, he'll eventually bust through a hole. Get you 20.
Yeah, he'll go 2, 3, 2, 16.
Yeah.
Miami.
Tannehill made some nice throws when the game was almost over.
When they're in desperation mode.
Well, when they're in desperation mode and go soft, then he looks good.
Blake Bortles part 1.
Yeah.
So, we missed by a half, but this game would not have been anywhere near this close with Garoppolo. Now, I read today that New England is keeping Brissett, and their number 2 quarterback will be Edelman. They're not picking up a veteran.
I don't blame him.
No, I'm fine with that. I just wish I owned Edelman in a couple of fantasy leagues and would love to get quarterback and receiver points from it.
Well, I got him in 1.
You almost have to start him on principle.
Well, no, the Patriots, I don't know. If Patriots were like, oh, hope we can go 2-2. Well, they're 2-0 already without Brady. Garoppolo looks like the second coming of Brady so far. And it's not like he had cupcake.
So did Castles, though.
No, Garoppolo looks better than Castle. See that throw he made to Bennett for the touchdown?
Yeah, that was
better.
No, he does look
good,
anything. By the way. Yeah,
that's it. Better than anything Matt Castle's thrown in his career. Oh, Matt Castle did get into the Titans game for a snap.
Oh, did he? Sweet.
Yeah. Fucking when the victory formation, fucking Mariota was running off like he had 2 leg braces on. He was cramping so bad. Looked like a stick guy running. Couldn't bend his legs.
Now, this upcoming game against Houston on the Thursday will be interesting. We're obviously not betting it for a multitude of reasons, but we might see a little better. You know, is it just you can insert any quarterback who's had a week of practice?
Well, I'm more interested to see what the Texans do against the Patriots defense. I want to see what Osweiler does against that defense.
Yeah.
Because like you said, they've won both games at home, but the Bears are god-awful. And we don't know what the Chiefs are for sure yet, but 19 points at home with 3 turnovers in the first half.
Yeah.
You're not taking advantage of your like that score should have been 30-12 with 3 turnovers.
That's very true.
So I want to see what Houston does offensively. Because I think they'll confuse.
Now, I wouldn't read. Ultimately, though, as I say, don't read too much into Thursday night, no matter what.
No, but I want to see what they do offensively. Just to see, because they're going to get opportunities with the third string quarterback playing against that defense.
Yeah, they should.
Like the Texans' defense is no joke.
They should get a bunch of short fields, and if Osweiler can't convert those into touchdowns, you're right. Then we don't really worry about them too much.
No.
Okay, next up. New Orleans plus 4.5 at the Giants. Perversely, I took New Orleans and then bet the Giants. You took the Giants. So I gain one there.
Ugh.
This is what I mean about totals. The first points of the game, I believe, were a blocked field goal or punt returned for a touchdown by the Giants.
Yeah.
This from the teams that put over 100 on the board the last time they met last season.
Well, we know the Saints don't score on the road.
They score more than that, though. They don't score their 28 to 40, but they'll generally put up 21. So I'm
Yeah,
starting to think maybe the Giants' defense isn't terrible, but I still think there are problems with the Giants' offense. Because we saw what New Orleans' defense is.
Where's Beckham? He should have lit these guys up.
Or
Eli.
Like, he caught 8 balls or whatever, but he dropped what would have been a touchdown, and it was easy. Easy. I mean, Cruz had a better game than Beckham in terms of difficult catches and work done. And I don't know, I'm not ready to buy into the Shepard kid yet because it's New Orleans defense.
But he had a pretty good game.
Mm-hmm. Nothing wrong with it, that's for sure.
But they don't have a running game either in New York.
No, to the point where they were at the 1, ground down the clock, and kicked the field goal for the victory because they didn't even trust their running game not to fumble the ball away or lose yards. Which I know is kind of theoretically the smart.
Well, yeah, you don't want to give
coaching
him any
move
time.
there.
You don't want to give him any time or anything.
Yeah, it's the smarter move, but it looks cowardly to me. So 16 points against the Saints defense still doesn't impress me, though I worry that our underbet on the Giants, if they keep facing opposition like they are.
Well, don't get too worried yet. They beat the Cowboys by 1 and the Saints by 3.
That's true. Talk me down off the ledge. I've been on the ledge all weekend, so.
Well, let's not get too overhyped on the Giants.
That's fair
these
enough.
games will turn. This is what I said last week. They lost all these 1-point games last year. They might win a few this year.
Yeah, it'll regress to the mean.
Yeah, and then bounces will go against them yet at some point. We had them at under 8.5. I'm feeling still not too bad.
That's true, because usually you win the East at 8-8 or 9-7.
Yeah, if they go 6-8, that's the last 14. Fuck, that's not out of the realm of possibility.
Yep. All right. Good pep talk there, Boyd. Next up, we have San Fran plus 13.5 at Carolina. We both took Carolina. Another victory for both. Yay.
Should have bet that one.
Oh, which, by the way, I'm at 4-4 at this stage, which...
You said it didn't get better.
Well, it didn't get better. It just managed to come back to the same. Carolina seemed to do everything they could to blow this point spread. Jonathan Stewart left in the first quarter. Shouldn't be surprising. It still hurts me as an owner of him. Fozzie Whitaker, though, put up 100 yards easily. Cam Newton would survey the whole field and then just ramble for 25. The Niners are terrible.
Yeah, I wish Kelvin Benjamin would have been around last year for the Super Bowl.
Would have made it more interesting, wouldn't he?
Yeah. Would have made our bet a little tougher. Fuck, he's good. I forgot how good he was.
Yeah, and...
Big.
I may not have watched enough of it to have seen it, but in his rookie year, he had some really bad drops. I didn't see him drop the ball at all here. Did you?
No. And he may have. I don't know.
Yeah.
He's a big body. You can just throw it up and he can go get it. Like, it's fucking, he's sick. I forgot how good he was, even as a rookie. I know he had a bunch of drops as a rookie, but...
He was still excellent. Like, that wasn't meant to imply he wasn't good, but that was the biggest problem with him from my memory
okay,
of his rookie season.
Let's say you can have Ted Ginn or Kelvin Benjamin on the field. That's basically what they traded off from last year.
Oh, and they still had Ginn on the field.
Oh, no,
I
know,
bunch,
but,
right? Because everybody's cheating so close.
But Ginn, Yeah, he'll
Kins.
beat you deep. He'll beat you deep. Benjamin's, he can beat you deep. He's a possession, third down receiver. He's fucking everything.
He's a red zone target.
Well, fuck, he's as big as a tight end.
Yeah, I was just going to say, with him on the field, you can never double-team Olsen, who got ridiculously free on that long touchdown.
Yeah.
Yeah, Carolina's still a threat, but if they can't beat Denver...
Well, yeah, they don't have to till the Super Bowl now, so...
Yeah.
I think they're the class still of the NFC.
I haven't seen anyone better yet.
Well, I don't know who else you'd say is better than them in the NFC.
Zona has a chance, but the last time they met, Carolina absolutely pummeled them. Though Carson
Who'd you say?
Palmer. Arizona.
Oh, Arizona, yeah. But
okay.
they're still a favorite.
Moving on, I think you might have something to say about this. Tennessee plus 5.5 at Detroit. We both took Detroit. Talk to me.
The Titans' defense has allowed 1 touchdown in 2 games. I was bitching to him on the phone about you till that came to my head. And I said, oh, why am I bitching about their defense? They've given up 1 touchdown in 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah, you were cussing out LeBeau, questioning his Hall of Fame credentials.
Come on, I was a frustrated fan. The Lions had done nothing, and we were losing. We scored 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. I will say this. It should be 2 touchdowns we've given up. You saw this play. They called Eric Ebron for a push-off in the end zone, and he basically guided the guy by him. He just kind of, I don't even know, it'd be almost like you were ushering somebody else through the door. No, after you. And he, didn't even look like he touched him.
That's a great description. That's exactly what it's like.
And they called the touchdown back. Now, I will say, on the PI in the end zone that set him up at the 1, I almost think it was a makeup call. You know how they do those sometimes?
Yeah.
It wasn't egregious pass interference in the end zone on the play before that.
But when I saw the play before that, too, I thought it was PI.
But
When
the
the flag
officiating...
this is where I really wanted to get you rolling. Because when we were on the phone on Sunday watching this game, you were giving me examples both ways of how terrible this officiating was.
Oh, yeah,
Both
it didn't
sides.
just go
for
one
your
way.
team, against your team. You just said it was brutal.
Well, we would have had 1st and goal at like the 1. Andre Johnson caught a slant and got half-yard line. They called Tajay Sharp for a crackback block. Or no, this was on a running play. Fuck. No, this was Murray ran for something. And they called Sharp on a fucking crackback block when the defender was running at him. All he did was drop his shoulder into the guy, and it was a running play. The announcers couldn't
if he
see
wasn't moving parallel to the line of scrimmage, if he's not moving, I don't see how that can be a crackback block, by my understanding of the rules.
Well, the crackback block is when you hit a guy not looking. The defender was running right at him.
Well, yeah. The old crackback block was when they would send the receivers right along the line of scrimmage to clean up engaged people. Now, they probably changed that definition, but if you're not moving, I don't understand how it can be a crackback.
Well, no, here's where the crackback block came into being. It was when Sapp hit that offensive lineman from Green Bay.
Well, no, it existed long before that, because Peter Gent wrote about it in North Dallas 40.
No, but it wasn't a penalty till then.
No, it was a oh, yeah, okay. I see what you mean. Yeah, all right.
It wasn't a penalty till Sapp blew that guy's hip apart from Green Bay on a fumble or interception return for a touchdown. The guy's running, doesn't see Sapp just fucking cheap shot at him. This was not that. What other ones did we have? Oh, running back getting run out of bounds. We strip him of the ball. They call him forward progress stop. That's killed us 2 or 3 times in the last couple of years. Last drive of the game for Detroit. How many times have you seen this? Quarterback in the grasp is what they called it. That's why they blew off the fumble. Well, how many times have you seen the guy tackling him backwards knock the ball out? The only difference was this is the guy had him wrapped up and was taking him to the ground, and we knocked the ball out of it. Jarrell Casey knocked the ball out of his hand.
Well,
I don't know how that's not a fumble.
Back that Brett Favre, or not Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers touchdown against Jacksonville because he was in grasping control. It's fucking ball. I was like, yes, game's over. They're going to review this, and we recovered the fumble. Casey knocked it out of his hands, jumped on the ball. Official word after the game was in the grasp. So anytime a quarterback's getting taken to the ground, then if the ball comes out before he hits the ground, he's in the fucking grasp. No? Well, I just gave you an example.
I know, but I'm
now
saying
in the other way, I've also heard that low hit to Stafford that wasn't called was absolutely a penalty.
Well, normally, yes, they would have called it. Was it as egregious as some of the others? No.
But I think what we're taking away here is that this was an atrociously called game. And we got to figure out what crew was on that and then just stay away from those fucking games because it's going to be random.
Well, Bolden pushed off. He got called once for PI for pushing off, one other time for a first down. He didn't.
Did he push off on his TD?
No.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of the ones Detroit got screwed on. Well, I did. The pass interference on Ebron.
Yeah, there were a bunch. When we were talking, you weren't just being a homer. Obviously, it's going to be a little that way, but you just kept giving me absurd examples of terrible officiating.
It was brutal. There was... Well, I think I told you there'd be 30 before the end of the game. The game ended with 29 penalties combined.
Accepted.
Yes.
Everyone always forgets that with penalties, and they think every time there's a flag, and some of these big numbers don't sound so big, but you've got to remember that 25% of penalties probably are declined.
There was holding all over the place, DBs, corner safeties, fucking everybody was. We got hands to the face. I told you this one on the phone.
Yeah.
Hands to the face of our defensive lineman when he had his hand on the inside of his shoulder pads on the collar. And the shoulder pads were riding up into his helmet. We got called for that.
Yeah, well, that one, I saw another example. I can't recall which game. See, why is this not reviewable? Because this would have prevented, the Rodgers Hail Mary on Detroit. Sometimes the head spins. Sometimes this does. It looks like someone grabbed the helmet, and I understand the speed of the game. You can't see it, but why can't a coach challenge that? It's not a challengeable play. If we're going to have video replay, it should affect some of these things,
Well, and that's what bugged me, because it was the beginning of the third quarter when we recovered that fumble in Detroit, and forward progress is stopped, isn't reviewable.
No, forward progress never will be. Because with crowd noise, they'll say you can't hear the whistle or whatever.
No, but how often do you see forward progress stopped?
As a call? I recall one Titan game last year.
That's my point. How often do you fucking... Oh, and we got called for a fucking rub.
I saw 3 or 4 rubs called. They seem to have at least marginally tightened the rules on pick plays. Now we'll see. That'll probably go away by week 6. Now Peyton's out of the league, right? So you don't have to allow every fucking pick play be fine because Peyton's not here.
And not to be a homer, I just remember the plays against the Titans.
Yeah.
There was
you were
tons.
very level, Boyd. I'm trying to give you a compliment here.
Oh no, I know. I'm saying this to the listeners that it's. I'm not trying to be. I just remember the Titans plays more because that's my team. There was just as many plays against Detroit that were bullshit too. So I guess it evened out. I don't know. That touchdown not turning into a field goal that Ebron got called for is essentially the game. That makes it 19 instead of 15.
Now they ended up at 1st and 30-something. Every other penalty that they called, by the way, was legit. But the very first one that should have been a touchdown, I saw absolutely nothing.
No, there was nothing. I'm glad the Titans won the game. I still don't know how Andre Johnson caught that winning touchdown.
That was a great throw by Mariota.
Yeah, but the guy, they had his arms in between his arms and fucking floated it over his helmet. It's just, I saw him throw it into that crowd of shit, and I'm like, oh no.
It's not a high percentage play.
I was expecting it to go to Delaney Walker, to be honest. But Mariota had a fuck of a drive. He was like 7 for 7 on that game-winning drive. 4th down throw to get the winning touchdown.
Now,
the 2-point
admittedly,
conversion,
by that stage, Detroit was playing a backup defensive end as a linebacker, and Tennessee smartly just kept working the middle of the field, which is just smart football, right?
We still ran the ball. The game was close enough, and we had enough time. They still ran the ball at them, which is smart, like you said, with the linebacker problem they have, but that's their own fault for only dressing 4. If you're running a 3-4,
negative. This wasn't a negative. I'm saying that's smart football to when they're running a defensive end out there at linebacker. Well, where do you attack? Of course, you attack the middle.
But when you're running a 4-3 and you only dress 1 extra linebacker, that's not my fault.
No, that's rostering more than anything else.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but good victory though. Screwed me out of a little bit of money, but
good.
But I'm serious. We got to look up and see what crew that was, and just avoid their games, because if it's the shit show you described, and I don't doubt you, just stay away from those games, because that introduces a completely random element into it.
Well, let's see. The Titans gave up 12 points to the defense gave up 12 points to the Vikings and 13 points to the Lions.
15.
13. The defense. They gave up the safety.
Okay. The safety, right. Okay.
So, pretty good defense.
Yeah.
Got an interception at the end of the game. Had 3 or 4 sacks again. Our second-round pick, Dodd from Clemson got his first sack. Klug had a sack. Casey was disruptive. Parrish Cox had a horrible game till the interception to seal it. But if we can get the offense going, and they made a good point, we're thin at receiver, man. Thin. I thought it was a strong point when we had Wright and Justin Hunter in back-to-back drafts, and they had decent years.
Yeah.
First years. Well, Wright hasn't stepped on the field this year because of hamstring problems. Hunter's gone.
Dorial Green Beckham is gone.
Yeah, and we've got Rashard Matthews from Miami. Tajay Sharp, who's going to be really good. He had a decent game. And Delaney Walker. After that, we've got Harry Douglas and Andre Johnson as our wideouts.
You've already gotten more out of Andre Johnson than Indy did last year.
Yeah, but they're thin.
Yeah.
Outside of Sharp, we don't have anybody to stretch the field. But
And Sharp's still a rookie, you know? It's...
Nah, he's not. You got to watch him play. He doesn't play like one. It's like he's been in the league a couple of years.
Okay, well, we should move on here, though.
Yep.
Good victory. Next up,
sorry, Mitt. Not sorry.
Seattle was off the board when we did the podcast. I said I would take them at single digits and take the Rams in double digits. Came in at 7. Your prediction of 8.5 was much closer. I should have stuck with my Rams. Seattle's in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
But not every team has a defensive line like the Rams.
Come on. Miami made him look fucking useless.
Yeah.
Don't put this on all on the Rams.
No.
The Seahawks are in trouble.
Yeah.
No Marshawn Lynch. They got a problem.
Rawls got hurt. I don't know the extent of that injury. They got a couple of long balls to Tyler Lockett, but Wilson was running for his life and not running well, I might add. And I don't even put that on the ankle. You there?
No, their offensive line's a little suspect.
I would say more than suspect. They're not
or
good.
Maybe the league's finally adjusting to Russell Wilson's bullshit. Keep him in the pocket. And I want to see what he can do. All his big plays have come off of fucking scrambles.
Not all, but I see your point.
Majority. The highlight.
But that's what he used to be able to do. He'd drop back. When the line finally broke, he'd be able to run around back there, and he kept his eyes downfield. But now, at least in this game, he couldn't even drop back to see where the line was collapsing. It was just crumbling in front of him. He had nowhere to go. They were coming around the edges, keep him contained. I mean, it was a good game plan. But it's a 9-3 game. I don't want to spend a hell of a lot of time on it now.
No. Best highlight I saw from that game was a Seahawks fan getting dumped over in a porta potty.
Well, that's the best highlight of any Sunday. Okay. We both got that wrong, though.
Of course.
Next up, this game we bet on my recommendation. Not my best. Tampa Bay plus 6.5 at Arizona.
Yikes.
From what I saw of it, Tampa Bay just walked out and gave it away. Winston was brutal. Like, 4 turnovers, 1 on a Hail Mary at the end, a fumble. Like, I don't know. I'd like to see time of possession in the first half to see if Tampa had it for more than 5 minutes.
Well, this game makes me feel better because during the Titans game, I was like, did the Titans make the wrong pick at quarterback? But I guess they're still only second-year quarterbacks. They're going to have brain farts to some degree here and there.
Yeah.
But on that last drive by Mariota, that's what I want to see out of a number 1 pick.
Yeah.
Wasn't fucking rattled.
Yeah, but we've talked about that game already.
No, I'm just saying I just made the right decisions. And then did you hear what the Tampa Bay guy said today? We read too much of our own press clippings the week before.
Yeah.
And the only reason I bring that up is because I was the one that said about Winston's leadership last year and the way the guys got behind him. So if that's his attitude, if he's as much of a leader as I thought he was, that attitude's coming from him.
That's true. And by the way, when it went bad for him, I don't put a whole lot into body language or anything. But once it went bad, he seemed disinterested, panicked, and sulky.
Did he have the Cam Newton face from last year in the Super Bowl?
Yes, indeed.
Because that's what I think of Cam Newton looking. And Manning had it when they lost to the Seahawks.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Manning had it on the first drive against the Seahawks. Yeah.
And Newton had it last year. If that's... You got to keep that confidence in your group even when things are going bad.
Yeah.
Because they're going to take the lead from you.
No, absolutely. And I
the only
was a
time
little
I buy into
distressed
that
just
shit.
to see him looking that miserable.
But that's the only time I buy into that leadership shit is when things are going bad.
Well, yeah, it's very easy. If everything's going great until something goes wrong, you know? It's... Yeah, no, never in this for 1 second.
No.
Next up, we also bet and lost this. We had Oakland -4.5 hosting Atlanta.
Okay, well, Atlanta had the worst pass defense in football after week 1. I think that title now goes to the Raiders.
That's 2 weeks where they can't stop anyone.
No. And the first half, they weren't bad. I told you before, I listened to the first half on the radio while I was cutting the lawn. And the defense was getting stops. Nothing big happening. They actually held them at the goal line to a field goal after a turnover. Raiders turned it over at their own 9. And they held them out of the end zone.
And they got the Matt Ryan once per game gift in the red zone on a bad pick.
Oh, and the Falcons also got that touchdown that fucking went like a pinball, too.
Oh, yeah, the one that went straight up in the air, yeah.
So, the Raiders can score points. I just don't know if they can stop anybody.
But last year, their defense was young and not terrible, you know? I don't know how they spent a cajillion dollars on defense and somehow made it monstrously worse.
Oh, I hear you.
Like, I mean, again, this is 2 weeks. It's way too early to come to this conclusion, and I do know that inserting players isn't like in a video game. But they've looked terrible. Like, absolutely terrible. They look like the Saints of last year, for God's sake.
Well, they don't have much of a running game either to balance it out. They're rotating 3 backs through. I'm listening to the game. Murray's in for a play or two. Then Richard comes in, and then fucking Washington's in. And there's no continuity in the running game.
Yeah, which is something that's sorely lacking and I think underrated in a football team.
Well, remember what they used to tell us? Running backs got to get 15 to 20 touches before things start happening. Where'd that? I don't know what the fuck's going on. Not a clue with the Raiders. They're going to put up a ton of points. I just don't know if their defense can stop anything. We'll see next week against the Titans what they got, because we haven't put up a shitload of points. We've only scored 30 in 2 weeks, so
yeah,
we'll see. We'll see.
Where's that game?
In Tennessee.
Okay.
And we'll see if they can put up any points against the Raiders. But the Raiders defense has to do something. Like, they're an 0-2 team, essentially.
And it's not like Atlanta's O-line is good, or
D-line, or fucking corners, or
Khalil Mack is... I didn't see him getting involved in anything in the plays I saw. Ryan was just standing back there surveying the field.
Like I said, in the first half, listening to it on the radio, they were getting stops. Like, what was the score at the half? I think it was like 14-13 or 13-10 Atlanta, something like that.
Yeah, Atlanta was up a little bit. Then the Raiders fought back, but then, you know, with a drive on the line, no coverage at all. Have you heard of this guy named Julio? And by the way, he wasn't even on the field.
No.
On the final plays.
Yeah, they had him on the sidelines one time at the goal line, or at the 8.
Well, yeah, he hurt his
down.
calf or something, I think is the word. All right, so we got that wrong. Next up, we have Denver hosting the Colts. Denver was favored by 6. We both got it right. I bet this on my own, but it required a bit of a miracle to cover. I was happy. I was honestly happy with the push. Right, we were sitting on the push, and then the strip sack taken in. Which, by the way, they ran back to back the Super Bowl play.
Yeah,
identical. Like different numbers on one jersey, but you would have been hard pressed to see anything different in the play at all. So, bravo. Simeon isn't terrible, but he's not good either.
Yeah, he doesn't have to be. Just don't turn it over.
And he did turn it over. Denver's so goddamn lucky. He did throw a terrible pick, which was going to be a pick 6. Butler, I believe it was, popped a hammy on the return, just fell down in the middle of the field. Simeon was not going to catch him from behind. Like, that was points for Indy. So, yeah, I guess when things go right, they go right.
Oh, that defense makes a lot of things go wrong for a lot of teams.
Oh, I'm not taking anything away from the defense.
Oh, no, I know. But Von Miller, like a lot of guys, when they have all the success and fucking off season that he had, you see a dip, he looks better.
Yeah, well, I think he's concentrating on his organic chicken ranch.
I don't know what he's doing, but he looks better than he even did last year, and he was phenomenal last year.
Yep.
Like, there's usually a little bit of a step back after all the distractions and all the shit he did in the off season. Then
he's an odd guy in all the right ways. Like, everything I've read about him, he sounds like a really interesting and weird dude, but not in the sense of
believes in mermaids.
Yeah, no, he's obsessed with organic chicken farming and likes to go down strange internet. It's not even conspiracy theories, it's just weird directions. I kind of like him. I wish he didn't play in my division. All right, next up, we had Jacksonville was +3 at San Diego. I took San Diego, you took the Jaguars.
Yeah, just to be contrarian, and I fucked myself on that one.
Well, okay. The next two games are kind of linked in this way. A lot of people, even I was hesitant taking San Diego, and took them. Because Jacksonville played Green Bay tough at home. Maybe the team was making that step forward. Chargers' run defense is terrible. I kind of like Yeldon in Jacksonville. I think the bigger thing that we can take out of this is there's something wrong with Green Bay.
Yeah.
The Chargers lost Danny Woodhead early. Then Rivers fumbled deep in Jacksonville territory, like on the 3 or 4, and I thought, oh, here you go, cue the comeback. But after that, they didn't miss a beat. That secondary looked atrocious. One of Rivers' 4 touchdowns was just slant across the middle. I think I counted 6 missed tackles. On a 7-yard slant, takes it to the end zone. Which delights me, but...
Yeah.
Bortles is not good. He threw... I heard a stat, it was actually from Simmons' podcast last Friday. Blake Bortles has thrown 3 first quarter touchdowns in his career.
Holy fuck.
And he didn't get any on Sunday either, so that's still valid.
Brutal. Okay, so what do we take out of it from? We know Jacksonville is not very good. What's happened to Robinson? Like, he was the reason they were in games. Are they just taking him out of the game and beat us with something else? I think we're taking
him out of the game. Part of it, though, is one of the strengths of the Chargers is our cornerbacks. If they can stay healthy, even against the big guys now, they're just always in position from everything I saw in that game.
Oh, fuck, that division's wide open. You guys aren't out of it yet.
Yeah, that was encouraging. We can't keep having a guy taken off in a cart every game.
No.
It's hard on my heart and my soul.
Well, especially on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, well, Melvin Gordon, though, by the
weapons.
way, he actually looks good. The offensive line still isn't great, but I saw very, very few carries where he didn't get the max he was going to get. He might get hit at 1.5 yards, he'd get it for 3. Overall rushing numbers aren't spectacular on a lot of levels, but I think the running is superior to what his stat line says.
Well, it's enough to throw defenses off. That's all you need.
Yeah.
You don't need a 60-yard run to soften up the defense. You just need the threat of the run. So
he can catch a couple of balls, and his pass blocking looked good. Again,
yeah.
It's not a huge pass rush, but, you know, his assignments seemed good. I was very pleased with what I saw out of him.
Well, I'm glad your heart could have a little rest on Sunday.
Yeah, it was kind of nice to get a big lead, though. At 35-0, I think it was at one point. I'm like, still not safe. All right, the Sunday night game, which, again, I think is kind of linked. Green Bay was -2 at Minnesota. We both took Green Bay, even though we were not happy about it. Like, I remember this. We're like, ugh. We made 5 arguments to take Minnesota, and we finally said Green Bay just because we have no idea what Bradford is going to be.
Yeah.
I'd probably do the same thing, again and again and again in that.
Bradford looked pretty good.
You don't have to look great.
But he made some nice throws.
Yeah.
And the chemistry he seems to have with Diggs is promising.
Yeah, though I think Diggs' days of single coverage are swiftly coming to an end. You put up 182 and 2 TDs or whatever, there's going to be some safety help over the top.
Well, and that throw Bradford made to the touchdown to Diggs, that was a fuck of a throw.
Yeah.
Guy right in his face, put it right where his guy could get it. Diggs made a great catch. And they were saying it during the game last night. Well, Bradford's had 10 different old coordinators in his career, and all the turmoil in St. Louis and all that shit. And then in Philly with Chip Kelly's offense, like, I've said it before, all these quarterbacks that get thrown into shitty situations, you never really know what they could have been in the right situation, and they never get a chance after that first few years of shit.
Jason Campbell's my favorite example.
So, maybe Bradford's got... He might be just enough for what this team needs.
Yeah,
like, he's
here's
not
my one worry, though. Coming in, having 2 weeks, he just said, just go out and play. Is he one of these guys that the more he thinks about it, the more he'll fuck it up?
Yeah, but maybe they'll just put him in the right situation.
Maybe. That's my one nervousness, is when he goes out with a super basic game plan and just lets his physical talent go, doesn't try to control things, doesn't try to do anything. Like, if keep your brain shut off. It seems to work for you.
But it's a different situation there. Like when he was in St. Louis, they had no talent around him. He didn't have one receiver like Stephon Diggs in his whole fucking career.
No, and not only that.
He's got a good tight end. Rudolph's a good tight end.
Yeah.
Even without Peterson,
Diggs.
they have
Johnson isn't terrible.
They have a decent running game. That Thielen is decent against the Titans. He was their best receiver.
Okay.
And even with Peterson gone, they've got
Asiata and McKinnon.
They're not terrible.
And as you just said about the Chargers game, you just need 3 or 4. Right? From your running back per carry. All you need is the threat.
They're not going to be as dynamic as Peterson has been. But let me ask you this. Would Denver rather have Simeon or Bradford right now with that defense? The Vikings are the NFC's version of the Broncos.
Yeah.
That defense is fucking brutal. They're scary good.
Yeah, and that's, by the way, that was with their top cornerback out, who isn't out for the year or anything. I'm not sure exactly where it stands, but in Xavier Rhodes, they had an overmatched kid who Collinsworth just kept saying, "You're in perfect position. You're just a little grabby.
Yeah,
like quit grabbing." And he got the game sealing pick,
which I was happy for.
Yeah, me too.
That was poetic justice there.
Yeah, though, by the way, none of the flags against him were bogus.
No.
He was guilty of all those infractions.
Well, that's the guy I told you the Titans were picking on the week before. And I was just like, oh, fuck, dude. But let's get on to the Packers for a second.
Yes.
We said all last year, how could one player make that big a difference to the offense? It doesn't. It's broken. And they've got the same guy in there trying to fix it. And he's not doing anything to fix it. I was telling you before, I watched Mike Lombardi on Fox saying that there's no nuance to their scheme. They come out with the plan, okay, this route or this scheme or formation, fucking Jordy's going to get open. And if the defense adjusts, they don't adjust to that defensive adjustment.
Yeah, that meshes kind of with what I heard. I heard a guy saying, watching an all-22, like I was wondering, did Rodgers just become indecisive? Because you see him back there, and he's got his 4 seconds, and he's patting the ball and looking all over the field. And he never throws it, and then he starts to move around, which you can't do when the front is as good as Minnesota's. They will track you down most of the time. And he just said you watch it in all 22, and there is nobody open. So, and again, this was a depleted Minnesota secondary. If Minnesota's defense gets healthy, they're looking really solid.
Well, I feel pretty good about taking them to win that division now.
Yeah.
That defense is for real. And if they get just adequate quarterback play, I think it's between them and the Panthers for the NFC. I think the Minnesota's better than Arizona.
I think they're more consistent and it's easier for them to repeat their game, like impose the will of their game plan on another team than Arizona.
Yeah.
Okay. And the final game. We both got that one wrong, though for justifiable reasons.
No, the final, I got that right.
No, you got the final game. The final game was Philadelphia at Chicago. Philly +3. You wanted it. I didn't because two shitty teams. A lot of reasons. None of them good.
The Eagles aren't a shitty team.
Eagles 29, Chicago 14. 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 29, Chi
That was my argument last week, that the Eagles weren't a shitty... I don't think they're a shitty team.
Okay. Well, you've come a long way to convincing me, but
no, I was going more about how their defense played last year and how shitty Chicago's offense has been preseason and the first game of the regular season.
Yeah, and it is offense.
The stuff I saw on Wentz, the highlights they were showing and breaking down before the game about him being able to read protections and change or defenses and change protections at the line. They showed a blitz he picked up that ended up in a touchdown in week 1.
Yeah.
Where he changed a protection to keep a running back in and gave him time to get the throw off. That's not normal rookie quarterback behavior.
No, it's not. He looks the part, and they're not asking him to do too much, which isn't a reflection on him at this stage. It's the second game of his career, and he's from a second-tier college program. Yeah.
And the number 1 pick's inactive 2 weeks in a row. Or no, he was a number 2 on Sunday. Sorry.
Yeah, I saw him in a jersey. I guess they wanted to sell some jerseys at the Coliseum.
But I think the Eagles have a real shot at challenging for the division. Because there's no powerhouse in the AFC or NFC East.
There hasn't been for 8 years.
But
I hate to say it, I'm leaning towards the Giants, but I think Dallas isn't going to go, well, obviously they're not going to go winless without Tony Romo again. Dallas's defense is weak, and I'm confused and curious about the Giants' offense.
But that's where I think the Eagles have a chance. I think they might have the best defense in the division.
All 3 of those teams, I put them in the same pile at this stage.
Yes. But the Eagles are much improved.
Eagles probably on the bottom just because we still haven't seen them against very credible opposition.
True. But the Giants beat Dallas and New Orleans. Dallas beat Washington.
Well, yeah. So Dallas and the Giants. I think Washington's confused. They don't know what they're doing. And this gets into, like you said, the quarterback should be leading for Tampa. I agree with that. In Washington, if the team is crumbling like this says something about management and coaching.
Well, that's always been the case in Washington since Schneider took the team over.
Yep. And I don't think it's changed.
And now that they've got Chip Kelly out of Philadelphia, that looks like it is a totally different team scheme-wise, but there's still a lot of the same pieces there. And the defense wasn't awful last year. That's what I keep going back to. And they've given up 24 points in 2 games. I know they're not playing great teams, but it's still the NFL. Still
valid. Yeah. No, that's still valid. But
I think right now they're my favorite to win the East. Because I think they can beat Dallas and Washington and the Giants. The Giants haven't shown me anything. The Eagles have looked far more impressive than any other of those teams in the East in their wins.
It's possible, too, with the Giants' inability to score.
Yep.
But we should probably wrap this up. We're at about an hour 20 here, so.
All right. If you want to check out the podcast.
Oh, wait a minute. Sorry. I should announce our stellar records on the week. You went 5-11, and I went 6-10.
Son of a bitch, that fucking Chargers Jaguars game. I was going Chargers, and then I went, no, we picked too many the same. I'm taking fucking.
And I just want to say, on a trend, when we agree too much, that should set off alarm bells in the future.
Oh, yeah, but how do you change that?
We'll come up with we'll just cancel in the middle of the podcast. Say, let's go watch more film until we disagree in a few more games.
Well, we come up with our own opinions before. We don't discuss any games before we come to the podcast. Nothing. It blows sometimes that we can't just pick up the phone and talk football. It's like, save it. We're saving that for the podcast. It's like, okay. So we talk Sundays while the games are on, Mondays and Tuesdays, and we don't talk the rest of the week. Where we used to phone each other like 4 or 5 times a week and just talk football for half an hour.
Yep.
But we make up for it because then we talk for 3 hours pre and post podcast. All right. If you want to check out the podcast, you can listen to it on iTunes or Stitcher for your Android device on our website, offensivelines.ca. Follow us on Twitter at Offensive Lines for any updates to our blog post or when a new podcast is available. Our personal Twitter accounts at OLinesMarlon or at OLinesBoyd. Facebook.com/Offensive Lines. And if you want to send us an email, it's offensivelines@shaw.ca. I'm Boyd.
I'm Marlon. And that was the recap for week 2.
I'm a loser, baby, so why don't you kill me?
Ditto.
Generous fucking gambler.